Alright, it's been a couple of days that the gameplay video has dropped, and I have had time to let all that sink in a little, including your guys' insane feedback. Today I've got a couple of relatively new screenshots that I found online that you may have seen or not, but we are going to discuss them in a minute. But before we do so, let me just give you a brief little introduction by saying that all of this is so much more than we could have wished for. I could have easily also put a thumbnail where like tons of DLCs from the first game are dropped into the logo of the second game, because obviously they have done something that I think I was dreaming for, alongside the whole community was dreaming for it, that they would take the best DLCs and the best mods and brought them into the game. There's also going to be one big downer that we unfortunately have confirmation of, but more about that at the end of the video. But apart from this downer, which is, well, it's kind of a downer, but it's okay, I guess. Already there is so much positive in here that the game almost cannot fail anymore, which is a very bold statement here, but I think we are onto something here. They have introduced so many things that we're also going to talk about briefly with the screenshots in a second, and that I'm also insanely curious for what they're going to reveal over the next couple of days and weeks until the release in October, because it's quite a while. But one thing that stands out to me is the fact that they have used the best mods, including networks and stuff like that, brought them apparently into the game, which we've seen in the menus and which is clearly visible from the stuff we've seen in the gameplay trailer. But they have also tackled the most demanded things, like roads, like buildings, like zoning, like demands for zoning and stuff like that, and they focus on railways and so on and so forth. But they have also brought in things that we used to love from various DLCs, such as, for example, I think a huge impact has made the Snowfall DLC, which I didn't play, so this is also why I've been wrong with some of the heating. I had no idea about this, but they also brought in stuff from other DLCs, just like hotels, for example, or other things that we've seen with a couple of DLCs. So they took the best things. For example, trains and trams, for example, was one of the ones for the infrastructure, but they have also brought in the industries DLC, is most likely a part of the original game now, which is something I have absolutely loved to see, because that is not a given, even though it seems like, and from a community perspective, it makes sense. But when you go deeper into what a game like that is, they want to have money at the end of the day to pay their people working for them, and surely that would have been an easy way to make money by just leaving all that stuff out and then sell this as DLCs again, because obviously it has worked one time, but they didn't, and this makes me so happy. But without further talking about me being super happy and excited, let's have a look at the screenshots and then talk about the little downer. So here's to the first screenshot. I couldn't find in a better resolution, but that was on the PC Games Hardware German website, where they had this shot from a train passing over this potentially very European model bridge, which I do love. It looks very cool. We have something that wasn't really in the first game, where we had a lot of modern kind of US style bridges, but this is one thing that I really like, to have like a more classic, like not medieval, but early 18th, 19th century styled European bridge, which is really cool. And then the modern tram going over it, embedded into the ground, embedded into the pathway, which is one of the street types we only got later in Cities 1. I love the Paradox logo here on the side. I love the sunlight and stuff. And this is also the reason why I included this very screenshot over here, because you guys have actually complained about it a little bit. That was one of the few negative points, that people were like, hey, sunlight doesn't look like sunlight. But something they have confirmed, and this is another little news over here, they have confirmed that the maps do vary in terms of longitude and latitude, in terms of lighting and in terms of seasonal impact. So that means some of the screenshots may have just been a little bit diffuse from its light, or maybe a bit more subtle in terms of sunlight, simply because they have been in a different season, or maybe the sunlight wasn't casting correctly. Well, correctly is maybe wrong, maybe not as expected, not super sunny, but you can tell there is a lot of sun in this picture, and there will be another picture. In 2 clicks, we'll be there. There is another picture that shows you how bright and how sunny it can also become. So really, really cool stuff. Yeah, I just love the bridge. I love how classic it looks. There's really not that much more to talk about, but in the next screenshot, there is a lot to talk about. You have potentially seen that in the leaks a week ago. I obviously have not covered the leaks. I just found that a little unfair. You know, it would have been an easy cash grab, obviously, but apparently this seems not fair to me, and now as they are finally out on various websites, again, this is from the PC hardware article I just found yesterday evening. But there's a lot of stuff to discuss. If you've seen the leaks, well, you know. But if you haven't, here we go. So the first thing I want to point out is sunken highways or sunken street. They look a lot more natural and a lot more close to what we've been doing in cities just normally. I love how seamless that seems to be embedded, and you can see that this goes into a tunnel section over here, which is interesting because that clearly is overground and aligned to the ground, while this is going into a tunnel. So that means we have a certain edginess in the landscaping, I guess, and that's a very good one because that was a little bit tricky in Cities 1, but you can see this over here in a way more nice way, how nicely embedded that is over here. So very nice how the tunnel goes in. Love it. But in general, one thing that stands out to me is the marking. The street marking is absolutely fantastic. Obviously, we know that this is without any mods, so you don't have like all these prop line tools or line mods, or there was like this traffic line mod apparently, and all this kind of stuff that we are used to seeing in screenshots of cities because it's highly modded. Remember, this is vanilla. And one thing I love is this pedestrian bridge over here, which even seems to have like this little overhang bridge kind of style support, which is really, really cool. Like the pedestrian stuff is included. Maybe you're missing another pass type, which is something we talk about in a bit. But one thing that is super cool is how nice the curvature is of all the roads. I mean, this road layout over here clearly has been done potentially by $2.20. He made the city or parts of the city for the trailer, which is absolutely fantastic. I don't know if you've seen the video, but I've been chatting with him a bit, and he was all over the moon, finally being able to talk about that. And he was even holding back to me in our chat. I kind of had the feeling there was something up, but man, he did such a stellar job. But remember, this is with the base game. Another thing that stood out to me is the amount of parking we can see in here. So parking has been introduced to the game. We now have the final confirmation that parking is actually not even cosmetic. It is needed because people have a parking need. And over here you can see there is quite a huge parking that is also very nicely needed. And this street over here seems to have parking to the side, or maybe this is like a little bit of a traffic issue, but there you can see parking is part of almost every building in here. Also the buildings have a lot of you can see some of the solar panels in some of the buildings, which may be a thing as well of getting energy. So maybe it's not cosmetic anymore even, but we will finally get this as a potential thing in the game. And we have already confirmation that heat and stuff, and also all the influences of weather will influence the demand of heat and energy. For example, in hot summers, the demand of energy will be higher due to more climate stuff running, while in winter, if you are in a more like normal temperature area, then the demand of heat is less, obviously, than in the northern region where it's colder. So I love the fact that this is implemented, but also you can see that buildings play a bigger role in that. So there are tens of million things we could talk about, but this is just a brief little overview of this area. You can see totally different types of buildings. I love how the train is embedded over here. It's a nice train station at this point. Really lovely stuff. But if we go to the next one, this shocked me. When I saw this picture, I had to look a couple of times, and I did double check if this is an actual screenshot from Cities Skylines 2 or if this was a fake screenshot done with AI or done with Cities 1 and a million bajillion mods. No, this is apparently an official screenshot from Cities Skylines 2. And if there's one single person now to tell me that this is not sunny enough, I don't know what to do. This is by far the most sunny thing I've seen. This is almost photorealistic. lighting in here. It looks absolutely fantastic. I've seen this and I was like, oh my god, what is that? There is the tiniest of caveat I have about this is the form factor of this very car. I've seen this so many times now. It looks like a Smart. I mean, me being German, I know Mercedes did a good job with the Smart, but I hate the design of the Smart. I just hate it in real life, and I hate it even more in the game because it looks to be even more cramped together. I mean, yes, we need smaller cars for the city, but it's so poorly designed. I mean, in real life. So this is obviously kind of a nod to the Smart, but oh my god, is that ugly. But if that's my biggest complaint, I think we are onto something. I'm also a big fan of, whoops, I just misclicked here. I just wanted to zoom on that side. I can't zoom there. Okay, there you go. This person on the left over here shows how good the models of people are. Really a huge improvement on that side too. And there's one last screenshot I want to just briefly look at, but this is not something major. It's just another screenshot of the city we have already seen a couple of times, but I need to correct myself. That's what we do here. If I've been wrong, I will say so. We've talked about the church, which is apparently in here somewhere. It's not on this shot. Well, you can tell it's somewhere over here, which was Notre Dame, apparently, or at least a very similar looking building. It is part of the deluxe edition with a couple of landmarks, and so it's not really a confirmation to whether we will have like a religion demand in here or not. So that just as a little correction. And then we've got university and stuff in here as we have already assumed. So yeah, just noting this as a little correction. One last thing, I thought we need to talk about a little bummer. Despite the fact you can see a motorcycle over here, the other thing with two wheels, which has no motor, the bicycle, is not going to be part of the base game. Colossal Order has already confirmed, or Paradox have confirmed that this is not going to be part of it in the base game, but they have in the same way confirmed that this will be in a future update. Whether it's going to be a free update or a DLC is not stated, but they said that they have thought of cyclists and have thought of it. Maybe this is going to be part of a kind of Green City DLC again in the future. And you know what? I'm fine. I think it's a huge part, and this might be the first small bummer for me, simply because I think bicycles and cyclists and just like that is a huge part of modern city planning, and should be a huge part of modern city planning. But it's okay if that's in an early DLC and then alongside a lot of other things that you could use for a modern city like that. At the end of the day, they have to earn some money with it, and I'm fine, I guess. So yeah, that's about that. I hope you guys enjoyed this little overview, and I hope there's going to be much more in the coming days, so keep your eyes peeled on the channel. I will try to cover as much as I can, and I will keep my eyes open to find all the little bits and stuff that we may want to talk about. Thank you so much as always, and if you want to support me, just make sure to subscribe to the channel. That would be lovely, and goodbye.